And, of course, it's Thursday. That means Bishop's Corner going to be on the air right after Say Yes to Life. So listen for your questions, his answers, 4:30 this afternoon, and here's one of them. From Michelle in Toledo. Dear Bishop, how was your trip to the March for Life in Washington, and can you share some highlights?
So, Michelle, thanks so very, very much. And I guess, and thanks for asking. This is a wonderful way. I would have said something, but you've prompted it, Michelle. So thank you for that. So the trip was wonderful. I think it was very blessed. And I once again, as I always am, I was edified and encouraged and inspired by not only, of course, the pilgrims across the board who were there, but in a particular way by our young people. So I'm grateful to our Department of Life and Justice under Catholic Charities who coordinated. We had at least 3 buses of folks, so over 150 pilgrims, and then other folks who came. I can share with you, it's a small Catholic world. So on the square there at the mall and then getting in line to march and then marching, I can't tell you the folks that I met who I know, lay people, consecrated religious, some bishops. So it's a small Catholic world, especially when you're dealing with people at the March for Life. I happened, Michelle, to be able to be there in time. I arrived to get there in time for the 5 o'clock Vigil Mass, which is celebrated in the Upper Basilica of the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. It was celebrated by Bishop Michael Burbidge, who was both celebrant and homilist, because he is the chair of the pro-life committee. And it also, Michelle, I can tell you, it put the fear of God in me, because that will be me for the next 3 years. So you're going to have to pray for that intention. But it was a packed basilica. I would say probably 5,000 to 6,000 people in the Upper Basilica. And then I had the opportunity, because they planned so carefully, I then had Mass the following morning with our pilgrims who arrived Thursday evening by bus. And at 9:30 in the morning, I had Mass in the crypt chapel of the Basilica, which is a wonderful chapel if you've never been there. So I was the celebrant and homilist of that Mass, together with all of my own pilgrims, our seminarians, and a number of other wonderful people who simply joined us. And there was one person who is actually studying for the oblates, and he arrived and they said, well, the Bishop of Toledo is downstairs at 9:30 for Mass, and he joined us, as did a number of other folks. We joined the buses, grabbed a bit of lunch, made our way to the mall there, and then we marched with the thousands of other people on a route that's a little bit different since Roe v. Wade. And there were fewer people. I think, sadly, there are some fewer people because many people erroneously think that because the Supreme Court, struck down abortion on a national level, they think, well, the work is done. It's just begun, because as we know, sadly, in Ohio, now it's going state by state to determine. And we have these amendments to the Constitution. So the battle is not yet won in any way. We continue to witness to the truth of the dignity and sanctity of every human life. And we march to witness to life, first and foremost, preeminently, life in the womb, which is sacred, and all other human life. So that's just a little snapshot. And boy, was I happy to be there and grateful to be a shoulder to shoulder with our pilgrims from the Diocese of Toledo.
Wonderful. And even though the total crowd was a little bit smaller, the contingent from the Toledo Diocese was very formidable.
And please God, that will grow over time. And I did forget to mention, Michelle, that in fact, it was snowing from early morning all through late afternoon. So the entirety of the march, it was snowing, sometimes heavily. And literally, Washington was almost shut down. There were about 4 inches of snow. So it was a very memorable march because we were marching in the snow. So that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And of course, that question and 4 others going to be featured on today's Bishop's Corner, coming up at 4:30 this afternoon.